Welcome, Eurotier attendees to the Maximus presentation, Maximus Fast Forwarding the Future. Maximus flagship product is our smart control. We have the brain, which is the one with the screen, touch screen, easy to use, very powerful. And we have the followers, or the master and the slave, so that we have full extensibility with this control. This control was invented and released in 2012, and we now have over 6,000 customers' sites around the world using this control. This is where the control is, and all the computer and all the electronics are manufactured here at the headquarters in a suburb of Montreal. And as you can see, we call it the Maximus solution. It's multi-species, pigs, poultry, dairy cattle, simple interface, simple to use, but very sophisticated, both on the hardware side and the software side. We are presenting this to Eurotier because we're making a move into Europe, and I'll introduce Nazar Baru to talk about our interest in Europe.
Thank you, Tom. I'm the co-founder of Maximus, and 8 years ago we started this nice adventure of creating Maximus and putting it on the market. We was very successful in Canada, USA, Asia, and Russia. But of course, with the business globalization, a lot of our partners that help us to develop the Maximus in those regions have also business in Europe. So we decided this year to start the promotion and the sales of Maximus in Europe for our existing partner, but also for our new future European partner. To do that, we associate ourselves with very knowledgeable, high experience in our business from Europe, and we're ready to go to Europe.
Thanks a lot. And I'll ask Wes Lack to talk a little bit more detail about the Maximus control.
Thanks, Tom. So my name is Wes Lack, and I am the Director of International Sales. So I help support and be a resource to all of our teams across the globe, from Asia and now Europe, of course. Out of the US, but a little bit about the Maximus control is, and the unique thing about the Maximus control is it's not just a control anymore. And I know a lot of us are used to just a climate control system out there, but it's become much more than that today. It is about climate. Let's manage your climates, your ventilation, your heating, your cooling, but it's also about integrating all the other stuff that you guys do on a farm every day. It's your feed management, it's your bin management, water management, alarms, if you want to sort pigs. And so we're really focused on providing a solution to producers to integrate all of the things on the farm. Each brain is connected to the internet. It's a plug and play setup. So you just plug in your Ethernet port and roll. And so because it's online, you get all the remote capabilities. You can control things remotely. And more importantly is, like Tom said, the data. Everything that happens on a farm today is, with the Maximus, is being recorded, monitored, and controlled, and reportable. So all of that information can be pushed out to our software system, which Tom will talk about a little bit, but it's about the data. And in order for producers and integrators today to make sound decisions with actual data being pushed out in real time to the software system, so your production data system, it's an amazing advantage over anybody else on the market today. And so it's hardware and software combined, and providing the real-time data from wherever you're at. Doesn't matter where you are, you're getting real-time data for your facility or your entire business.
And maybe mention a little bit about the feed piece of it, load cells in particular, and how that ties into the larger solution.
Yep. So, I mean, if we look at the operating costs of a facility today, it doesn't matter if it's swine or poultry or dairy or anything, feed is our number one cost, and it's always something being critically managed every day. And so with the Maximus, we can add our scales to the silos, and also it's about the whole management of the system. So bin slides and all that. But taking the scales for this example, we have customers today that have scales on every system they have out in the market today. And so we're actually using the software side of our business and congregating all of that feed inventory, feed consumption data, and we're actually pushing all of that information automatically to a female manager, whether it's a operating system or maybe it's a specific person in your operation that gathers that information and gets it. But Maximus itself is congregating all of that information and data, pushing it real time. And honestly, if you wanted it 5 times a day, if you wanted inventories 5 times a day or consumption 5 times a day, all of that stuff is automatic and with the Maximus solution can be pushed automatically to wherever you want it to be to help manage and make your feed operating more efficient day by day.
Yeah, thanks, Wes. So it ties into our software package, which provides feed ordering, scheduling, and delivery, and we'll see that in just a minute. What I'd like to do is just take a step back and say there's 3 big things, 3 or 4 big ideas that I wanted to get across here. The first one that we invented and that we came up with was the idea of collapsing or consolidating multiple controls from multiple vendors into a single control, which can then be extended, adapted, custom built, and essentially act as the control for the rest of your life. It's the last control that you need to buy because each of these controls can be custom built and extended into whatever applications that you need on whether it's pigs or poultry or dairy cattle. So collapsing or consolidating multiple controls from multiple vendors into a single box. The second big idea really was to be able to control multiple vendors' equipment. In other words, sort of the neutral Switzerland of managing all of the different vendor equipment, whether it's curtains or fans or generators or heaters or air inlets. The Maxus Control manages that no matter who the vendors are. And third is sort of like our Intel inside tactic or strategy, where we extend our electronics and computer programming to be a part of a bunch of different equipment, right? So whether it's electronic sow feeding in lactation or gestation, heat detection capabilities in gestation with loose sow housing or in gilt development areas, or whether it's on a sorting scale, essentially using Maximus electronics and computers to manage that equipment. And in fact, in working with Maximus, we have a sister company, Zax, that manufactures the equipment. So somebody can come to us and have a whole package put together where we can deliver the ESF system or the sorters along with the Maximus Control. And I'd like to introduce Robert Drew and Guido Clement to talk more about the ESF systems.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So my name's Robert Drew. I'm the group housing specialist for Maximus, which basically covers sorting and finishing. My expertise and experience has been more in electronic sow feed and production for the last 35 years. I've worked with Maximus for about 2.5 years now. And I think when we look at ESF, Tom, it's probably good to just take a quick look at the history to see why we got where we are today with the equipment. Because as we look at the equipment, you'll see it looks very similar in some ways to the equipment that was available somewhat 40 years ago now when the first electronic sow feeders were used over in Europe. And that's with a back out ESF. Back then in the 80s, we had the big collars on the necks. And we were running those systems at about 40 or more sows per station, and we run into a lot of problems with aggression. And really, over the next 20 years, from that point through the 90s and the 2000s, the front exit ESF became more popular and kind of became the system of choice. And the thing with those systems, when they came out, people were trying to push more and more pigs through the feeder, as many as 60 up to 80 pigs per station. And so it became a throughput issue. And I think what people tended to forget was when it became throughput, what happened is there was more technology added to the station, which created some issues, which we'll bring Guido in to talk on his experience on that in a second. And although that technology, it worked, the system became much more complex for the people, and it became less favorable for the lower hierarchy pigs in the pen. Because with electronic sow feeding and group housing, I think it's about the pigs that don't eat more than it is about the pigs that do eat. And I think we lost some focus on that, and we tried to push too many pigs through. So maybe Guido can just chip in with some stuff here. It was taken probably 16 hours of a 24-hour feeding cycle for all those pigs to feed, and there were some issues that were created. So.
Yeah, I think it's mainly the know-how that is required for training the gills, the labor and the know-how that is required for training the gills, and the additional cost for air compressors, sensors, and additional items that were added to these type of stations. And by the way, not only to these type of stations, also other competitors have more of these equipment added to that free access ESF station type as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there. Labor is a big issue. It's probably one of the biggest issues in the industry today. And I think over the years, what we've found is that when we make ESF easy for the people, it becomes better for the pig. And so basically, fast forward now, Tom, to use your term, to what we've seen here probably in the last 5 years or so, the back out ESF has picked up in popularity again. And there's been some changes made from 35, 40 years ago, where now we're looking at running about 15 pigs per ESF station. So basically, the cost-wise, you can have 4 back-out ESFs to the same price as maybe 1 forward exiting ESF with all the technology on. So we're keeping it a lot simpler. We've focused a little bit more on static pens compared to the big pens with 300 or more sows in to keep it easier for the people. And I think the other thing is what we've done is we've found ways with pen design to make it better for that lower hierarchy pig to find its feed. And typically what we're seeing now, we're seeing these systems feeding the whole pen within about an 8-hour period, because we have that ratio down to 15 pigs per station.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Guido. Appreciate that. As you can see, the ESF system is a big part of our total package. And speaking of the total package, our big idea number 4 here is the idea of building value-added software around all of the hardware and electronics that we provide. And in terms of the software, I think what's mostly relevant for Eurotier attendees and listeners would be these first two. We have production management for pig production and for poultry production, and that might be interesting for some of you. But more interesting, I think, is what we call the Maximus Enterprise software, which really works for people who have more than one Maximus control. So for people who have many Maximus controls, we came up with software that allows you to manage all of those controls, settings, manage the users, control access and get reports across the entire Maximus control system within your production system. And we call that the enterprise software. And then we also have, as we were talking about with the Maximus control and the load cells, we have a complete feed ordering, feed mill scheduling and delivery software, which we call the iMill software. And so that gives you a sense of the total software package that we've built around the hardware and the electronics and the control. And we call it overall the Maximus solution because it's both pieces, both the hardware and the software, but people can use the controls without our software. They can use our software without the controls. And of course, we think the most powerful is the combination of using the hardware, the controls, and our other equipment like ESF with the software that we've put together. And that's it. That's why we say Maximus fast forward in the future. And we appreciate your attention. Thank you.